Hi, everybody. Welcome to the second episode. So, this is an episode that's usually most viewed. At least the last season was the most viewed because a lot of people just wanted to know where to go after getting the deck. But yeah, so before we start, I'm going to be reviewing the rules. So, we're going to be using the same rules. Basically, we can sell what we pull, and we have 10 euros per week, but there are going to be a couple of extra rules. So, first of all, the cards I sell need to be at least €1 just to like avoid pulling a lot of like small stuff that's going to be like irrelevant and bloating the budget. Second, going to be capping the amount we can get of selling cars up to €50, just to avoid getting like expensive marble and for some reason the series just being over because now I have like a full deck. And last, I'm going to be adding some extra prices. So each week I can gain up to 5 extra euros. I gain €1 per win, and if I win the Armory, I get like the whole €5. So like up to €15 plus what we sell. Yep, those are going to be the extra rules for this week. So now let's go to the profile. All right, so last week I got the deck and 3 boosters. With the Armory, we managed to spend like €51. We got like 97 cents above budget, but we got like a Black Friday pack. And the pools we got like the Summits, the Turning Point, Golden Gauntlets, one Overcrowded, that's nice, and Out of Glory, and the Boost. And basically, we managed like to trade these two in value for the Flick Knives, and that's like super good, to be honest. So now the Out of Glory is just our win, because these 3 are below €1, so they won't be counting to the budget, only the €10 that at the moment of recording the Out of Glory is worth. So yeah, that's going to be our extra budget for this week. All right, so let's start with the equipments I'm going to be parting ways with. First of all, the Spider's Bite. I'm going in more like a redline direction, so I don't really need like the Spider's Bites. I'm not really going to be pitching a lot into that. The Prey Spotters. I mean, the card is not bad, but I think I just want another headpiece with like the other masters, also like an attack reaction and does some stuff, as well as the Rage Baiters. So the Rage Baiters aren't that bad as well, but I think the Flick Knives is just like way better. Like the Flick Knives that we got last week was awesome. So I'm just going to be running the Flick Knives and building around it. So the equipments that we're going to be adding is, of course, the Mask of Perdition. This is just a Battle Worn block 1, just the Praise Butters, but I can buy this back if I manage to get some silver, just some extra block and maybe extra reactions, extra mill. On top of that, also the Flick Knives that we got last week. It's really cool that we have access to Flick Knives. Usually, I think we should have like waited like 2 or 3 weeks in order to get the Flick Knives because I need like to save the money. Those were like €11. But we traded for them with basically the stuff that we pulled, as we say, like the same value. So that was pretty nice. So the Flick Knives are really good in combination with Kiss of Death. You can just deal 1 extra damage or reapply the effects that already are applied at the Kiss of Death. This is really nice with the combo with Toxicity. So I'm happy we got this. I think if you can't afford Flick Knives, then your digits are a decent option since you can use them, but you can only use them once and they don't block. But if you're able just like to push the combo of Toxicity and Kiss of Death, that's pretty worth. And the new dagger is going to be the Mark of the Huntsman, replacing the Spider's Bite. This is a card we can flick and also mark that isn't like a Hunter's Clave, and it's like way cheaper than Hunter's Clave. On top of that, if we have some extra resources and our opponent is marked, this is just like 1 extra damage attacking. The other equipments we are just running as like the same equipments as before: the second Clave, the Inventor's Night Cowl, and the Stalker Steps. I think the Stalker Steps are going to be staying in the deck. The Inventor's Night Cowl is going to be swapped by Redback Shrouds. That's like super good in combination with the double trouble, because that and the spike are already like 2 reactions, and we can like save Flick Knives and Dogger Step and stuff. yeah, that's it for the equipments. Now for the main deck, there are a couple of cards going to be leaving. Starting with the pick two pieces. I mean, this can be like a good cyber against Prism, but I think we have like a really bad matchup against Prism, so it won't be helping like a lot. Scuttle the Canal, it's just redundant go again and a bit hard to get, so I don't really want to be playing this one. Just change it for something better. He also has the Mark of the Funnel Web. Like against certain decks, this card is just like a vanilla because they have like either no arsenal or they arsenal direct. So I don't really want to be playing this. This was not good in draft and it's not really good in construction as well. And again, the red bag, the state of red bag is just like redundant. Go again. I don't really need this much go again because my hero has go again. I already have go again my boots, and there are older cards that also give go again. So I don't really need it. And I'm going to be getting rid of like almost all the blues in the deck because I want to go for a more redline version of the deck. So the Mark of Black Widows, Mark of Funnel Web, Reaper Skull, and Shred are also going to be living in the blue. So the new cards coming to the deck is of course the MVP, Kiss of Death. I think when I'm posting this, the price is going to be a little bit outdated because like when I pull all the prices together to see what I could afford, this was still like really cheap, under €2, and I think now it's a bit more expensive. So I'm sorry about that. Now the double troubles. This is just like a 0 for 5 basically. We already have like multiple reactions on board, so especially with the mask, this is just like a banished of 3. It might help like fatigue certain decks, and just like 5 damage is a lot of damage. 2 more of the prey are just like a placeholders. I'm probably going to change them with the infiltrates, but this is just like some more marking. Yeah, that's because I reduced like a lot of the marking potentials. We're mostly only marking with the flick knives. Triple Bond of Attraction. This is a card mostly against Gravy or maybe against Indra. On hit, we can banish like a card from the grave, so you can banish an ally or a dagger or something like that. Running to pick up the points. I want to see how they perform in some like grindy matchups. Sometimes I just want to like re-equip my daggers and maybe like if I flick them a lot. A really nice card is going to be Snatch, because we can go like 3 go again into Snatch, and since we're playing a fairly redline deck, Snatch is going to be really strong. I'm adding some contract cards in the form of Plunder Poor and Sector Shifty. Just again, same logic as a Snatch, like a Chain Ender that I can just gain some silver and maybe like rebuy my equipments. Then I'm going to be playing Triple or River Spinneret, the red ones, because all the oracles are banned. So this way I can equip like a Graphene. Graphene also gains go again from the Sleepy because it has stealth. And on top of that, it's just like extra ammo for the flick knives for like double trouble. At the moment, I'm only on 2 toxicities. These are really important with the Kiss of Death, because we can play toxicity into a Kiss of Death and flick the Kiss of Death. On hit, it applies like all the effects that has Kiss of Death. So lose 5 life and lose 1 life. So it's a flick for basically 7 damage. And that's like super good because unless they have shelter, it's basically almost uninteractable. Then I'm going to be adding the third Take Up the Mantle, just to have a full playset of that. And maybe we can like combo of Horror of the Past more often. Then I'm going to be adding like some sideboard against Verdant's Triple Arcane Polarity, because we don't have that many like cards we want to pitch into AB. We have AB1, but we don't really want to pitch. 1 Sigil because I had like a random space, so just put it in the deck. Triple Spike of Inertia. Not sure about this one. Like I had some. There are most likely better cards to play, but I just wanted like to stay with the Spike because it's just some extra way of denying the arsenal against certain decks that one like to prep. And lastly, 2 Armors of Echoes. I don't know, maybe it's like pretty good against Auxilio. Yeah, that's all for the new cards. Now let's see the old cards that are staying in the deck. So the old cards staying in the deck are going to be the triple proles. This is basically just a C4, like 3 into 4, you know. The Mark of Black Widow, nice disruption, banish a card from hand. That's pretty good. We can just flick, and it is online. Art of Desired Body. This has a really nice combination with the mask, because if we activate mask on the Art of Desired Body, we banish 2 cards, meaning we can draw like up to 2 cards if we hit 2 reds. Triple Infect. This is just a 0 for 5 basically. If it hits, usually it gets blocked, but that's why we have reactions. The card, the Mid Madness. This okay, mid card, maybe Arsenal Disruption, maybe Hand Disruption. It usually just gets blocked. So yeah. Classic reaction, Razor's Edge, just +3. Then Creep. Go again to the next, so we can go 3 Chains White. Spike with Blood Rods, the best of all the spikes. If we play it on Kiss of Death and we flick it after that, we give like a second Blood Rod, so that's pretty good. I'm still playing the Undercover Acquisition because maybe it's like some play, I don't know. Maybe it's decent. The one of Infiltrate, I'm probably going to be maxing this once we got like more budget going. Now we have like the Jealous Reds. Just a really good card. It helps destroying like temper equipments and just pushing on hits. Then Triple Horror of the Past. That way we can combo like the Attack of the Mantle. And the only blue card staying in the deck, the Knight's Embrace. I am not going to be playing like that many blues because I want to mainly focus on like the attacks, you know, like I'm playing mostly red line, just going like attack into attack or something like that. The spikes are maybe like a bit problematic to be played, but that's why we have like the chest, and we can just have like a pop of turn where we get like multiple resources and are able to play like, multiple spikes. Otherwise, we just block of them. But yeah, I think that's all for the profiler right now. Let's see how the armory goes. See you at the armory. Right, so our first round for today is going to be against Lyath Goldmade Veil 7th. So he's going to be prepping some big turns, but he can't block that well because his ability says basically cards he controls are hot, and when he activates or part of his ability, like the instant cards don't block that well, you know, like the auras, the big auras. So that's something good for us. He doesn't have access to like that many D-reacts because of course his D-reacts only blocks for 2, but that's something good for us. And of course it's going to be our cyber against him, just siding in the Spike of Inertia, like just like to prevent some setup from his part. If he wants like to play an aura, an arsenal attack, then we can just Spike of Inertia that bad boy out of his hands. So week 2, game 1, we'll start playing against Lyath. So yeah, Lyath starts the game, and honestly it couldn't get worse for us. Maybe it could, but it's like really difficult to get it worse since he just started with putting himself into playing a boost, putting himself again into playing the card that makes 3 mites. So he starts the game with like 5 mites, and that's not good. So he just starts swinging with like that card that intimidates once, and on hit destroys the card intimidated. So I just can easily block it, but my hand isn't like the best hand. So in this case, I just start with the Mark the Prey, play 1 reaction, and plan to arsenal a card. But he had like the blessing thingy that prevents 2 damage, so he was able to go like without a problem there. But we took 3 cards from his hand, and that's okay-ish. His flow was only like, cut and long story short, but with the 5 mites, it's still like a threat, kinda. My hand wasn't great either, and I unfortunately do the second toxicity, even though I already had 1 arsenal, and that's honestly not really that good because that is one of my win conditions against like this kind of decks that just like can block pretty well. Yeah, so in this case, I needed to block this toxicity because I'm not doing anything with it, keeping it in hand, so sadly need to block with it. And my follow-up is just like sack the Shifty, Yes, 0 for 4. Maybe gains some silver, but he blocks it with the shield, and that wastes the respite. And now he throws some goon in action. He makes 3 mites and throw like the goons. I blocked them with 2 mid magnets, a bit unfortunate. Since I had like this snatch, if I keep like a mid madness, then the snatch is just like a 0 for 4. I could have blocked with like an equipment, but I just prefer like to throw the snatch, and maybe the snatch is able like to generate a lot of value. But I was pretty unfortunate in here because I started the toxicity with the Kiss of Death. That's like my main combat of from what I'm trying to do, and I swing with it. But he has like the Oasis Respite, and so Oasis Respite works as following: it prevents the next 4 damage that X-Source would deal. And if we flick the Kiss of Death, meaning that's 1 damage that the Kiss of Death would deal, so that's also prevented with the Oasis, meaning the Oasis blocked not only the attack but only the flick, and that was like super unfortunate because that's like 7 damage we really needed. And unfortunately for me, the Snatch gets like also blocked out with 2 cards, so a bit unlucky, like the way that gold went. Like at least the Snatch made its purpose, like taking 2 cards from my opponents. But I was really sad seeing that the Kiss of Death like didn't accomplish a lot. Yeah, it's really unfortunate. And his follow-up being just like the card that searches for a card and forced me to clash, and that's like one of the easiest non-blocks. So I just let it hit and tried to play with the card I had. So depending on what my opponent does, I will go like 2 or 3 chainings wide. So I start with this bit madness and I push it to 4, and it seems I won the die roll because my opponent just like had to banish a card from hand. That's good for me. And after that, I just come with like this mark of the Black Widow, and meaning I can just choose to flick a weapon out of my weapons in order for him like to banish a card from hand. He just gives me 2 cards, and I'm happy with it. Especially since he just swings Titan's Fist like for 3 as the follow up, since he had like no cost 3 like to pitch, and I just block it with a card. And now in my turn, playing again with 4 cards. I had also like a pretty nice hand right now. I start like the Keys of Death. I wish I had like the 3rd toxicity right now, or like even my 2nd one that I was forced to block with. It's a shame, but yeah, I just come with the Keys of Death, follow up with Double Trouble. Double Trouble is a really nice card because most of the time it's just like a 0 for 5, and that's like a lot of value, especially since it banishes like 2 cards from our opponent, or even 3 cards if we like activate the Mask of Perdition, and that's like really really good. But yeah, just hit with that, flick the Kids of Death, dealing 2 damage, then react with the Stalker Steps, and finishing it up with Toxicity after our opponent already gave us like 3 cards, meaning he needs to give us like another card and swing the Hammer, or just like take the Blood Rot Pucks, and he just takes the Blood Rot Pucks. So his follow-up need to be worth it, like in order to just let us go ahead by playing like basically 3 0 for 5 cards. That's like, I mean, we had like 15 value with 3 cards. That's like kind of nuts if I say so. But yeah, then his follow-up is this sadistic thingy, and then plays like the Mocking Blow. But since he is like 1 life ahead of us, it's pretty important that the Mocking Blow is actually live. Meaning the Mocking Blow is also like 0 for 6, but the Sadistic Skull isn't like the most efficient card, since he just spent like 2 cards in order to do 5 damage. That's like E-Strike Gorgil levels of value, you know. But the Intimidate can be relevant sometimes. I think this time that Intimidate wasn't really relevant. Yeah, I think it was like this Prowl that I just play next, and Prowl into Infiltrate, pretty 2-card combo. I mean, I'm not sure if we could like really use the cards that we just like get from our opponents, but yeah, I mean, we're just trying to do our best. So I'm not sure if I took like the best line by blocking with the opponent, the Poor, and the Infect, and like throwing the Prowl into the Double Trouble. That way they'll like 9 damage with 2 cards, but I had to flick like my dagger. And like if I mean it's pretty unsure that the infect is going to hit, but if it hits, then it would be like the same value than the dual threat without flicking my dagger, just like keeping my dagger for like a mark play for later. But luckily for me, I drew like a graphene next turn, so I had like a replacement for the dagger, and that means also like more fodder for the double trouble the next time I have like a double trouble. But I honestly stopped thinking about this card, like the intimidate thing. This way, our opponent just like intimidated the card from hand and was able like to skip the turn for us. Yep, a bit unlucky and a bit stupid on my part because I wasn't thinking about that card. And now, since we gave our opponent like a lot of time to breathe, just swinging with the graphene for 4. Um, so now he gets like to do some more setup. He plays like this imposing visage, getting like this aura thing that gives him 3 mites and confidence, and now he has like multiple auras of suspense on board, meaning he could like actually do something scary next turn because he's going like to have access for up to 7 cards, a +4 buff and a +3 buff, meaning that's definitely going to be a little bit scary, especially now that like the second aura comes into play. Just banishing another card from hands. If that aura had like a counter less, then it would be like especially scary. Because it would pop and it would go everything off at the same time. And at the end, he is able like to take a counter from it. This Blood Taurus Badish. Yeah, my disruption isn't like good enough because he can block it, and he has like, and I have no reaction to pump it, so it's like whatever in this case. But yeah, now it's like a scary moment, I would say. So now with the power of all those mites and auras, he throws the card that makes me discard like my whole hands. But luckily for me, since didn't have dominate, I was just happy throwing my whole hand in front. And at the end, he follows it up with the Spear of Sanities that gives him like an extra might and an extra confidence token. I mean, it's a little bit feels bad that has to hit and like he gets like some extra value, but I needed to block the last attack in full. So yeah, that needed to be done. So I'm pretty sure like I had finally drew my Take Up the Mantle, and the Swords of the Past have been chilling my arsenal for like the past couple of turns. Was just like waiting to be finally played with the combo, but he had like third Intimidate aura, meaning my efforts were futile, and it just intimidates it like the Take Up the Mantle from my hand, meaning I'm not happy with that, so I just throw the card. Maybe like in hindsight, how the game ended, just pitching into the graphene would be like the better play, because like I'm pretty sure like the Prowl also says the next attack with stealth, so the graphene I will only lose like 1 value for 1 more card in deck, and thinking how this game like almost went to fatigue for both of us, maybe it was like the better choice just like to pitch it to the graphene. But yeah, hindsight 2020. So all his buff explodes right now, and he swings with like more goons. And I finally had like a really good hand, and he had like no way of disrupting me in the form of the thing, you know, like the intimidate aura. So I started things off with this creep that gives my net attack goes again, and since that effect is already applied, I can just easily play the Take Up the Mantle here. I choose to go for the double trouble just to get like some 2 extra damage and banish the top 2 cards, since the deck was looking like pretty thin. And I continue with the infect, just doing some extra damage and giving him also like the blood rots, finishing with this like the shifty. Honestly, like a really nice 5-card hand. Yeah, I just almost just pushed a lot of damage in this case, and I was really happy about this turn. And like this is exactly what you want as Lyath, just having a lot of things going off at the same time. But like the problem is if you don't have a confidence or something to dominate, and as long as your opponent has like a decent hand, your opponent can just do as I do, and block 12 on that, take some damage and pass it. Yeah, my opponent just pays for the blood road, avoiding going to down to 1, and he gains like basically like a back-to-back turn. I thought I had him because I had banished a lot of cards and I had him like a decent lower amount of life. But it seems I was mistaken, because now he comes with the discard cards and the Terrasunder plus this Bianos pose, and that's a lot of damage, and he makes me like discard 3 cards. So he basically hand ripped me for 3 and dealt 5 damage. So at that moment I was like a bit afraid how we're going to like to finish the game. Especially since he had like again a back-to-back Terrasunder. But I was pretty lucky that he had like no large guardian attacks, and he also had no cost 3 hammer, meaning the hammer would just come for 4. So in that case, I was just able like to block with the flick knives. Then I realized it was honestly a pretty big mistake on my part to be blocking with the chest that early. I thought I was going to be using the chest like after I blocked it, but then I realized I should just wait, and the moment never came. But yeah, that almost cost me the game. So in that case, I was just like able to finish the game with the spike of blood rot, finally activating the chest and playing the spike. Alright, so once again my opponent starts, and they're having like a banger start. So they start playing the Malefic Incantation, playing the life Arcane Seeds, but because I started 38 life, sorry, my opponent actually can't gain life, so just 2 rune chance. And for some reason my opponent decided to swing here. I'm not sure if my opponent just thought I had like no AB or something, but yeah, my opponent just swings at that moment, and I'm just like, okay, sure, let me just like pitch this 3 red cards and block with this spike of inertia that I'm probably not going like to use next turn and prevent all the damage. But yeah, I'm happy about like how that started, and now my opponent just like lost 3 rune chance for nothing, I would say. Yeah, so then I swing with the Sprawl into the Mark of the Huntsman, just for like to convert the 1 blue card I had, just like to mark him and finish it up with the Mark the Prey, just to leave him on a mark state. And for some reason he just like decided to block 4 with the chest and the arms. I would say this is like a block that you either take it because you are like already marked, so it's just like vanilla damage. You just either take it or like let it be. Okay, so now I think this was like another mistake. So we can see in his hand he has a Brandle Spark, a Summering Gloomveil, and the Strength of the 4 Seasons. I think like the correct play would be just like to play the Bramble Spark, fusing with the Strength, swinging the Summering Gloomveil for like 7. Go again because he can pitch for the Grasp, and he gets like an extra rune chant from the Malefic Incantation, meaning the second effect for the Summering Gloomveil is online, and he's dealing like 3 arcane damage and 10 physical, and I would say that's like pretty good like for early game standards. And the arcane damage is going to be like annoying at some point because I don't have like a lot of blue cards. I only have 3 blue cards in my deck. Yeah, that's going to be like pretty annoying. And as we could see, my hand wasn't like that awesome. I just tried like to block the damage I could, and swing the Kiss of Death with the Resist Edge into the Snatch. So I'm trying to be as aggressive as I can with this Kiss of Death, because the leg equipment from Florian can just prevent on demand like the flicks, and also the block card that discards and prevents the 2 next damage. So it can be a bit rough against Florian, trying like to get our combo, but it's something that we probably need like to get done. Yeah, in this case, he blocks with 2 cards to snatch, and I think we're happy with taking like 2 cards from him for the snatch. especially since it's like a Plow Under and a Bramble Spark. He plays the second Malefic, so as mentioned, this Malefic can get out of hand since whenever if Florian is able like to get online fast before like this Malefics run off, then they just basically double the damage. They're like 0 for 6, and like their cane is would be like just a lot for me to handle. But yeah, now I luckily had like really good hands, like creep into infect, finishing up with a snatch, and shred for the inflect, meaning that's just like a lot of damage in this case. Sadly, the shred didn't have like the most value since I just hit like a 2-block card, but it's still like pretty good value, especially since the snatch hits and I was able like to draw a free card, and my opponent can just come back with a tilling, making like two Runechants in the back. I mean, it's like 2 card 10. That's like not bad, but I think I just did like a bit more value with my hands. So last turn I like blocked with the Massive Precision because I wanted to activate this to get this double trouble online. So I flick one of my weapons and to get double trouble online, crack also the Massive Precision and get double trouble like to 5 power. I hit, deal 2. I was a bit unlucky that I actually banished 3 Earth cards, so that wasn't like that nice. But damage, value is value, and it is what it is. Yeah, so I play like an Orb-Weaver, refreshing a dagger, and now I have like this Graphene that has like Go Again by Sleepy. And I finish off this Mark the Prey for 6, marking my opponent once again. So my opponent had like a 2 Swarming Gloombale hand. That's like 12 damage of 2 cards because of the Malefic Incantations. A bit rough, but as I mentioned before, I can still block that. I had like this blue card that I just used it to pitch, and now I still have like a pretty decent turn with this mid, like going 3 chains wide with this mid madness, finishing up with this Planet of Poor, and I'm able like to get a Felling of the Crown from his hand, so that's like also pretty huge. And he was like another misplay from his part. So using his leg equipments on the Planet of Poor, I think he misunderstood as I was playing a reaction, so he just like used them to block. But I wanted him to allow it like to take it back, but he just said it's like fine with that, and I was like, okay, sure. And yeah, then I think that was like also misplay because that opens me like finally to play some Keys of Death combos. So last time he blocked with the Felling because he had the second Felling, but now is where we see something funny because he has this arsenal as his turn 0, and that has been a Germinate that's been just in his arsenal. I think like this Germinate, this arsenal has been so troublesome for him. I think it's like it just took so much away from me. I think there are like probably times where he could arsenal like a Tilling or something like that, but this Germinate is just being like rotting in the arsenal. And I mean, you can't play a Felling and an arsenal Felling, but that's still like something rough, I must say. Like to having this Germinate in the arsenal just like stuck. So yeah. Anyway, this Felling I just took it completely because my hand was like the nuts. Just starting with this Kiss of Death with a Razor's Edge, and he swings like the Planet of Poor, and I just like flicked the Kiss of Death, dealing like some extra damage. So I did like 12 damage with 4 cards, and that's like absolutely fine. And the follow, especially since the follow of my opponent's just like throwing 3 Runechants and the sword, I just decided to take it, block with Battle Chest and block, then activate my chest and try like to finish the game. I also just needed 1 resource to play like the spike, but my opponent played like this just suffering, so I was just like, yeah, sure, let me just like use this resource that I have already like floating, and finishing it up with like infect 6 power from this Graphene, and playing like the spike Blood Rot, giving him like double Blood Rot, And honestly, I think he wasn't expecting me to give him like the double blood rot, because that basically just like sealed the deal on the game. Like the spike was just like way too unexpected. My opponent just like IP'd himself on the felling just to like to throw the felling next turn. But since he was already on one, I just needed like to flick a dagger, and that would be like game over in this case, and it was game over in that case. So an old foe from last season is going to be Florian Rodwood Harbinger. He has a really good gameplay that revolves around mid-ranging, and once he decomposes, he turns like into a really strong hero, having a 1 card 5. But he lost some really good decomposed tools in the recent banned and restricted list in the form of the root by card pass, so we're going to need to use that now that he has like less reactions to work with. And our equipment slot for this is going to be just like the standard equipments, and actually the same deck list as against Lyath, just avoiding some setup on his part, like trying to disrupt, like to play Tilling into Arsenal Felling. With the Spike of Inertia, we can just avoid that. But Florian is a bit terrifying because he has access to the leg equipments, meaning the Keys of Death flick combo is a bit hard to pull off. But luckily for us, we already have like AB in our legs, but we're not going to be using it a lot because, as you can see, we only have like 12 resource cards in the deck. The rest is just. And our last game for today is going to be against Victor Goldman, High and Mighty. He has really good defenses, and the new kind of deck plays against a fatigue play style. We need to play around like the Clash of Iron Grip that makes us discard a card. That's going to be like the most important card to play around because he can just discard the reaction we want to play. And of course, this is going to be our sideboard. We're going to be changing like the Spike of Inertia with the Undercover Acquisition. Maybe we can steal like gold and get like some extra value out of something. Yeah, that's going to be all for today. So, last game for today. We're playing against Victor. It's going to be a hard matchup for sure. So, like, against Victor, I usually just like to throw my attacks on zero. Because if he has like any clashes, he's just forced to block with the clashes early. Otherwise, he just has like his clashes on his turn, and like the clashes don't really convert offensively. So yeah, that's why I usually kind of like that. And I'm not sure if this game is going to go like the fatigue, how like the fatigue is going to play in this game, because like Victor doesn't run like a lot of D-Reacts, meaning sometimes he has like to overblock in late game, and I have like some mill capabilities, but Victor has also some mill things. So yeah, so I started this mid madness. He overblocks it with a trounce, and he wins the clash. Then I just swing with this because I see he sends like a Kiss of Death to the bottom. So I just send this Spike Blood to the bottom, like to have a stack for late game, and he blocks this Test of Iron Grip, and he misses the Test of Iron Grip. So I get to keep a card from my arsenal. So that's like I'm happy with that. But yeah, so in his turn, it's just like a Command and Conquer for 7, not like the best thing he could do. I think maybe since he already had a gold playing the state would be like fine. But yeah, no, I mean he didn't wanted to play the state. But I think I would have played the state since against the most of us just are trying like to outvalue them, and if you put the pressure early, then you are like cooking. But yeah, he just pockets the D-React we saw of the clash, so we know he has like a D-React. So my turn isn't like the greatest turn, it's just like a 2-card 7, but it's fairly important that we actually use like 2 cards from our deck, and like the 2-card 7 from Victor, they only use like 1 card hand, so that's something important to know. But if this 2-card 7 hits, it's like actually a 2-card 9, and it also mills like a card from the deck, so that's also kind of relevant. Yeah, it just gets blocked by a thing below the single attack and a Boring Hammer like to do the follow up, so not like the greatest thing ever. But I was like super lucky to get this early Kiss of Death Toxicity combo. So just trying like to play around the clash, keeping like an extra card in hand, and like just knowing when to use my stuff generally. So yeah, This Clash of Iron Grip wins, and I discard its effect, but I follow up with Cycle Shifty, just threatening like to banish the top card of the deck, and I know I'm going like to flick this Toxicity for like 7 damage, and that's what I do. And on top of that, I also get to banish like that Headbutt because my opponent only blocks 3, so total of 8 damage this turn, 7 of which unpreventable basically. So just eating a strength from my opponent, I'm happy with it. So I started the Mid Madness and I had this red, but my opponent is actually playing the stun responses. And this kind of large reactions are a bit annoying if I'm like overcommitting on things. But yeah, so now I have like this double trouble and I already have like the mass position ready. Sadly need to give up one of my mark daggers to get this online and not something like a Kiss of Death, but that is what it is. And I actually banished like some relevant cards in the form of like a second stun response and the Spinal Crush. And the follow back from my opponent isn't like the best, it's just a Command and Conquer that gets like blocked by 2 of my cards, so I having like no issue doing that. I mean, my hand was already bad anyway, so just giving him 2 cards for the command was like still fine. Just swing 3 into 1. It's only like a 2 card 4. That's like super bad, but my opponent gives me like a test of strength into that, so I guess I'm like fairly glad with that. So yeah, and I managed to win like the clash, so I guess I'm still like happy with that since I also got a gold for my troubles. And it gets even worse for Victor since his play is a Golden Sun, and because he had like no gold, he can get value of the Golden Sun, and he doesn't really want like to crack the shield into that, which I can understand. So it's just like a 7 vanilla, and I block with this Night Gull for value since I'm having plans for that. So I had this Pike with Blood Rod and this Double Trouble, meaning I could just like easily activate my things. I decided to use the boots here because I wasn't sure if I was going like to get another opportunity instead of flicking the Graphene I just equipped. So that this way I just get like an extra value of the attacking with the Graphene, and since I'm not sure if I'm going to also be able to equip another Graphene, so that's why I just chose to go with the boots and swing the Graphene. That's a way I can also manage like to use the last resource I have. But that's why I mentioned before that the other equipment is like way better than legendary, because you can just crack it and activate the spike, and this way I have already like the 2 reactions with only 1 attack, with only 1 card, and on top of that we can buy it back if for some reason manage to get like enough silver. And our opponent just pays with Blood Road and passes, so I would say that was a pretty good turn cycle for me, since we're ahead on life and we have tempo now. But our tempo got completely shafted because I drew all 3 take up the mantles without an stealth attack, and that's just atrocious. I cracked the gold and tried like to fetch for an attack because only 1 attack would do like the job, but sadly didn't find it. This case just swing with my Hunter's Clave and to see if what I could fish. He blocked it with the shield, meaning I just shred the shield and almost destroyed it but he reacted with the Flexus just to avoid getting market. At this point I just swing with my Graphene and finish with a Snatch that basically does like not much there. He blocks everything up and just swings Boulder to us. I mean, the Boulder to us is some disruption. It's just a 3 for 7 that gets rid of a card from my hand. So that's a card I need to block. So now I have like this Kiss of Death and a Horse of Pass. Honestly not the best hand. And I would say this is probably just another case where it's just like better to swing with the Hunter's Clave, since that way maybe we can leave our opponent marked. But I mean, the Horse of Pass still like 3 damage if it hits, so it's kinda fine. I reacted to the first attack here because I know my opponent, if he's going to block with the second one, he's definitely going to block with a 3 card. I don't think he's going to give up equipment for that. So I just give the push here just to ensure it and see maybe he has like further information, like a reaction, something like that. But he didn't. So yeah, so just deal 3x damage and then swing with the Horse of Past. flicking the kiss and dealing 2 extra damage once again. The follow-up from him just being like another bullet toss, something that I need to block, otherwise I lose like more cards, but I know like the combo that's stacked on the bottom is eventually going to pop off, so I'm just like waiting for it to come once again. So this is some nice thing about Sleepy, because he gives the first attack with Stealth Go again, meaning the Graphene is also included in that. So in this case I can swing the Graphene if Go again into Hunter's Clave, just like to try and mark him with 1 card and see if I can get like the free mark. Yeah, so he blocks the Clash for Battle, revealing my toxicity, meaning now he knows what's coming up next. And in this case, he throws like this Spinal Crush. I just let it hit because I had just like a plan to play around Spinal Crush without just like eating the without needing Go again. So I'm not sure if this was probably like a misplay from my opponent's part. I played like this mark of Black Widow, and maybe he should just like waited until I flick in order to play the D-react, because I reacted to that, push it to 6, and he just like reacted to that, blocking 8, and that was like pretty fine by me, just Arsenal toxicity, and his follow-up being like this disable is something I kind of need to block, especially because I want to keep my toxicity in my arsenal when I drew eventually my Kiss of Death. So now I'm not sure why I didn't just start swinging the Clave into the Black Widow. That way I could like save myself a flick. But yeah, I just took a whole card of the Clave, and that's something I'm pretty fine with. Especially the follow-up just being like a Command and Conquer, and this Victor deck isn't running any pummel, so CNC pummel, it's not a thing here. I just do what we're doing, stealth card into contract card, 27 damage. Opponent gives us a crown. I guess he was just fishing for something better. And plays the Cass Holmes. Now with the riches, that's a bit threatful, because now he gets like 2 golds and 4 mites, because we destroy the shield. Don't forget about that. But still, like some extra damage for like next turn, especially when he gets like to prep a seismic and swings a hammer. Now I have like the funny one of the undercover acquisition. Maybe I tried to steal a gold, but nope. He had another plans. He had the Clash of Iron Grip, so we needed to clash, and I ended up discarding the Mark the Prey that I had in my hand. So no marking for us, sadly. And the follow-up being just like a Krina Crush for 12 is absolutely fine for me. Like, we don't draw cards like ever, because my opponent is going to block us anyway. I mean, we throw this Snatch for value right now with his toxicity, they're going to block anyway, but we're just like waiting until we draw the Kiss of Death to finally finish the game, like, or at least try to finish the game. I mean, like, the Snatch isn't going to take the draw, so it's just 2 card 7. But important now, as mentioned, it burns 2 cards from our deck. That's like not that nice, especially when like these hammers just keep burning more cards from our deck. Now getting rid of like another Mark the Prey, but I finally drew it, so everything is Gucci. So now it's the time. I wasn't sure how I wanted to do this, especially because I forgot we have like all those take out the mantles. But our opponent has like lethal on board. You know, he has 9 mites, and the hammer, it's already lethal 1 card. So I wanted to force him into a situation where he needs like to give us all the cards, especially after he blocked like 9. So in this case he blocks 9. I still play the Spike with Blood Rot on the attack, just to give like the Blood Rot pox when I flick it, meaning I deal like the 7 damage, his goes to 6, and I am still attacking with like lethal for like 4, and the Blood Rot meaning another 6, so that's like all the life. So 7 into 6, meaning if he blocks with only 1 equipment, he dies to 1 flick. If he blocks with both equipments, he dies from 2 flicks, because we have like 2 daggers, meaning he really needs to give us like the last card in hand. So we just, at least we just win it with that. I think our opponent was a bit afraid if we had like a Turtle Toxin, but jokes on him, we can't afford that right now. Maybe next week. But yeah, so I just steal his whole hand and gives him a Blood Rot box, bringing him like down to 4 life. So now with the cards I have, I need like to go for the kill. But nope, we sadly drew like fairly poor, so it is what it is. So all the three take up the mantle came back once more. And at this point, I wasn't even sure if we still had like some stealth attacks. But we actually had one horse of the past still, and it's still like pretty bad. So I just flicked this graphene and try like to get him low because I know next turn is going to be our last turn, and we don't get like two turns to flick. So we have to flick this turn, and the next turn we're going to flick the hunter slave. So we only need like to deal 2 damage in total. But he has this vigor and he has one card in hand. So now he goes fishing with like the victor specialty, and he has like a lot of cards in hand because he also draws like the riches of the gold. And this was a bit rough because if he didn't have like this extra might, I think I just win the game on the spot. But without this extra might, I need like to do some fleet footwork because now I'm like forced to block with one card, and I don't want to force because I want to block because I just want to kill him with all the cards I have. But yeah, so I just play to my outs and start swinging with the horse of the past because that's like my only stealth attack anymore. And he decides to block 6, and I flick my hunter slave, play horse of the past, switching into a double trouble, and playing the shred I have in my hands, and that was just like enough to finish the game. Just barely lethal. I think if our opponent just like overblocks here, we are kind of cooked. And yeah, so because that was also our last attack, so that would have been like just game over. But yeah, I'm also really surprised that I managed to win 3-0 this Armory. Didn't end up winning the Armory because there was another 3-0 with like better standings. So that's it. But yeah, so like 3-0 is honestly very impressive. Didn't expect it like to go this way, especially if like only the first changes. But yeah, I hope you all enjoyed this, and just check out the deck list. It's going to be in the description. But yeah, see you next week with some more upgrades. Bye. Well, I honestly wasn't expecting like to be able to go 3-0 after the first changes. I guess did it again. Let's see how the deck goes. It's only going to go better from here, especially since we're going to be able to start affording tarantula toxins, redback shroud, and any other like weird card we might want. I think that those are like the important right now. The redback shroud and the tarantula toxins that allows us like a redback shroud is like basically on its own with the spike is like the whole double trouble thingy. So that's really good. So like just stay tuned for next week and let's see how we go from here. See ya.